G'day folks, it's Rob here, and in today's video we're going to be running through some of the common pests you may find in the aquaponics system, like that one there, and also some ways to treat them so you can get more of the tasty veg for yourself and not have to share it with those blighters. Now, the methods we use to treat the pest in aquaponics tend to have to be organic, mainly because of these little fellas down in here. These are basically one of the drivers of the system, the fish that produce the waste. So we need to make sure whatever we use in the system over there to treat the pests doesn't enter the water itself and create issues for the health of the fish. So for that reason, all the treatments we use for the pests in the system have to be fish friendly, and preferably also amphibian, reptilian and mammal friendly as well, because we have those animals all interacting with the systems, birds, lizards, frogs and us humans when we eat the fish and the plants themselves. Seeing as we were photobombed by a cabbage butterfly in the intro, I thought we'd start with caterpillars. What we have there is a cabbage butterfly caterpillar, and on this leaf up in here we have a cluster caterpillar just behind that little webbing there. Those guys there are actually quite invasive and can cause a lot of damage, so we'll deal with them first. They're from a moth, and it doesn't take long for them to strip leaves. We actually had a fairly bad infestation of those caterpillars on the chili plant here, as you can see by all the small holes in the leaves. I actually found one of the nests on one of the leaves here. What it looks like is a load of tiny small eggs, probably hundreds of them. And once they hatch, they get a voracious appetite and they can devour a cabbage like this one here in a matter of days. And as you saw from the intro, the other pest caterpillar we get here is the white cabbage butterfly caterpillar. They're pretty common all around the world. Now, these little fellas, they like to come in and lay their eggs on the undersides of leaves. They're pretty easy to spot. They're just a very small white dot. And yeah, I just go along and just squish them when I find them. We actually have a little parasitic wasp buzzing around. I will mention a few other beneficials, but those little wasps, they lay eggs within the caterpillars themselves. The eggs then hatch and eat the caterpillar's juicy bits, and then they pupate on the outside of the caterpillar before flying off and repeating the process. So they're great to have around. One of the reasons I don't like using a lot of sprays. So to protect the plants from caterpillars, you can use a couple of different methods. You can exclude them by maybe growing in a greenhouse. Another way you can go is using fish and animal friendly insecticides. I use one called Dipel. It's basically made of a bacteria, Bacillus thuringiensis, and it is very safe to use in your system here. It only targets specifically these guys here. The one we buy here comes in a sachet with 10 grams of the powder in it, enough to make up 10 litres of the spray. Now, there's no way I need 10 litres of spray for this size bed. So what I've done is I've weighed out individual little bags with 2 grams worth of powder in them. That means I can just whack it in my little 2-litre spray jug and go around not only the aquaponics but the other beds down the back, just to give them a little bit of protection. Now, you will notice that the spray does tend to roll off the leaves. Don't worry about that. There will be enough bacteria left on there, so when the caterpillar eats it, it will get into its gut and do it in from the inside out. So it is very safe to have in your system and very effective. Now, looking at these leaves, you may not think that, but these plants here are exposed to the rain. They're outside from underneath the deck. We have had a bit of rain lately, so every time I do spray the Dipel on here, within a couple of days, it just gets washed off from the rain. And another method we like to use is manual removal, basically going through the plants themselves, picking off the caterpillars, and then taking them over for a bit of a snack in the fish tank. Our plants here do look a little bit manky. That's because I've been growing through our summer just for the leaves. We've been using them in the cooking. We're just coming into our cool season now, and that's when we like to grow the heading brassicas, like the cauliflower and broccoli. So these guys here will be coming out in the next week or so for some new seedlings to go in. Now, these grasshoppers are one pest that I don't have a control for, unfortunately. The main thing I do with these guys is try and catch them and not let them go and feed them to